The rain hadn't stopped for 2 days. It pounded against the windows of Liam Carter's apartment like a cruel reminder that the world outside was as broken as he felt inside. He sat alone on the edge of his couch, hunched over a cold cup of coffee, replaying the last voicemail his younger brother Dylan had sent just minutes before the crash. "Don't worry, man, I'll be home in 20. I got that game you wanted. You owe me pizza for this." Then silence. Then the call from the hospital. Then the body, wrapped in a sterile white sheet. That was 2 months ago. Since then, Liam hadn't returned to work, hadn't answered friends' messages, hadn't stepped outside unless absolutely necessary. Each night, he dreamed of Dylan's face, sometimes laughing, sometimes screaming, and each morning he woke up feeling like a hollow shell of the man he used to be. It was Megan, an old college friend and now a licensed social worker, who finally intervened. "You need help, Liam. Real help. This isn't just grief anymore. It's going to kill you," she said softly one evening, standing at his door with takeout in hand and concern in her eyes. "There's a therapist. Quiet guy. Doesn't take many clients. But he's different. His name's Dr. Marcus Hale." Liam resisted. For a week, he ignored the card Megan had left on the counter. But one night, while sitting in the dark staring at nothing, something inside him gave way. He picked up the phone and dialed the number. Dr. Marcus Hale's office was tucked away in a quiet brick building on the edge of town. No flashy sign. No secretary. Just a simple plaque. Dr. M. Hale, Psychotherapy. Liam hesitated at the door. His reflection in the glass stared back. Unkempt beard, hollow eyes, hoodie pulled over his head like armor. He didn't look like someone seeking help. He looked like someone beyond saving. Then the door opened. Dr. Hale was younger than Liam had expected, maybe mid-40s, with neat dark hair, wire-rimmed glasses, and a composed, unreadable face. He wore a charcoal sweater over a white-collared shirt, and his posture was impossibly still, like he belonged to a different century. "You must be Liam," Hale said, extending a hand. "Please come in." The office was warm, inviting in a minimalistic way. Earth tones, soft lighting, no ticking clocks or cliched motivational posters. Just 2 chairs and a small desk, with a shelf of books arranged too perfectly to be casual. Liam sat. The therapist followed. "I'm not good at this," Liam said after a moment. "I don't know what you want me to say." Dr. Hale tilted his head slightly. "Say whatever feels true." That's all it took. The words poured out like a dam breaking. Liam told him everything. The call, the crash, the unbearable silence at the funeral, the guilt. How he was supposed to drive that night, but Dylan had insisted on taking his car instead. How every moment since then felt like borrowed time. Dr. Hale didn't interrupt, didn't take notes. He just listened. When Liam finally stopped, drained and trembling, Hale leaned forward slightly. "Do you believe your brother's death was your fault?" he asked, voice calm, even gentle. Liam nodded before he could stop himself. "And what would Dylan say if he were sitting here now?" Liam blinked. He hadn't thought about that. What would Dylan say? "He'd tell me to stop being a jackass," Liam muttered. A small smile tugged at the corner of Hale's mouth. "Interesting. Why?" "Because he always said I carried the weight of the world like a backpack full of bricks. He'd probably tell me to take it off and breathe." Hale leaned back. "That sounds like a very loving brother." Liam felt his throat tighten. "Yeah," he whispered. He was. The rest of the session passed in a strange calm. There were no grand revelations, no life-altering advice. Just space. Just quiet. Just presence. As Liam left, Hale handed him a simple notebook. "For the memories," he said. "Sometimes grief is just love with nowhere to go. Give it somewhere." That night, for the first time in weeks, Liam slept without waking up screaming. And in the morning, he opened the notebook and wrote a single sentence. "I miss you, man." He returned the next week. And the next. With every session, he felt like some part of him was being carefully untangled. Dr. Hale never pushed, never pried. He asked questions that made Liam think, sometimes cry, sometimes laugh unexpectedly. But then, in the fourth session, something strange happened. They were discussing the night of the accident again. Liam had mentioned the weather, the fog, the slick road, the broken streetlight near the turn Dylan never made. Dr. Hale nodded slowly. Yes. The visibility was terrible that night. That light had been out for days. Liam froze. How'd you know that? Hale blinked, then smiled. It was in the paper. I follow the local news. Liam nodded slowly, but something about the answer felt rehearsed, distantly mechanical. He shrugged it off. Maybe he was being paranoid. But as he left the office, something twisted in his gut. He hadn't said which streetlight. The days after the strange session moved like slow thunder, quiet at first but pulsing with tension underneath. Liam tried to shake the feeling that something was off. Maybe he had read about the broken streetlight somewhere, or maybe Dr. Hale had seen it in the paper like he said. But something inside Liam refused to let it go. He'd never told anyone which intersection it was. Not even Megan. It was a detail he'd buried so deep in his own mind. It surprised him that Hale could recite it so easily. Too easily. The next session, Liam didn't bring it up. Instead, he talked about high school memories with Dylan, the time they snuck out to catch a midnight movie, the dumb road trips with cheap gas station snacks and terrible playlists. Dr. Hale listened with his usual composed expression, nodding, occasionally smiling. Then, just as Liam was about to wrap up the story about Dylan getting them lost in the mountains, Hale interjected. That was the time you ended up sleeping in the car because the lodge was closed, right? Liam blinked. I didn't mention that part. Dr. Hale sat back, the faintest flicker of something, irritation, passing over his features before it disappeared. Ah, you're right. I must have confused it with another story. I've had patients share similar experiences. Liam forced a smile, but his heart was pounding. That wasn't a coincidence. That wasn't a guess. That was specific. The moment Liam got home, he powered up his old laptop, the one Dylan had helped him build, and began searching. Not for Hale's credentials. Those were public. PhD from Stanford, 10 years of private practice, glowing reviews from patients. No, Liam was digging deeper. He combed through forums, newspaper archives, Reddit threads. He searched for keywords. Marcus Hale, therapist, lawsuit, patient death, weird experience. Anything. Nothing turned up. Not even a high school photo or a social media presence. It was like the man had appeared out of nowhere with a perfect resume and no past. That alone was a red flag. Everyone had a footprint online. Especially someone as accomplished as Hale. Where were the interviews? The conference speeches? The paper citations? Liam didn't sleep that night. Instead, he mapped out everything he knew about Hale. The building he worked in. The hours he kept. His choice of words. His unusual memory. And the fact that he seemed to know Dylan better than he should. The next day, Liam returned to the office building. Only this time he didn't go in. He waited in his car across the street, slouched low behind tinted windows, watching. Dr. Hale's last appointment was usually around 5 p.m. At 5:15 the door opened. Hale emerged, dressed in his usual muted clothes, carrying his leather briefcase. He moved with calm precision, almost robotic in his rhythm. Liam followed him. From a safe distance, he tailed Hale down 2 blocks to a parking garage. The therapist drove a black Audi. Sleek, clean, no stickers, no identifying marks. He pulled out, took a right turn, and instead of heading toward the highway, veered left into an older part of town. Curious, Liam stayed behind, careful not to get too close. Eventually, Hale pulled up in front of a gated building, a low-rise with steel doors and frosted windows. It didn't look like an apartment complex. It looked like a bunker. Hale entered a code on a keypad and disappeared inside. Liam drove past slowly, craning his neck to check for signage. There was none. Over the next few days, Liam kept digging. He researched building records, tried to find the name on the lease. The address was listed under a shell company called Kenshaw Holdings. No phone number, no website. The deeper he searched, the more frustrated he became. Hale had no cracks in his background. But Liam's gut told him otherwise. He needed real proof. That's when the idea came. The following Tuesday, Liam booked his session for late afternoon. At the end of the appointment, he casually said, "Mind if I use the bathroom before I go?" Hale gestured toward the hallway. "Second door on the left." Liam nodded, walked down the hall, but bypassed the bathroom completely. He slipped into the office next to it. The door wasn't locked. Inside was a small room with a desk, a computer, and a filing cabinet. Nothing looked particularly alarming, until Liam noticed a small voice recorder sitting next to the monitor. Curious, he clicked the play button. His own voice filled the room. It was a recording of his very first session. Chills crawled up Liam's spine. He clicked the next file. Another session. Different tone. Still him. The third recording wasn't him. It was Dylan. Liam's breath caught. He pressed play again, heart racing. "I told him I'd be fine. I just didn't want him worrying. He worries too much, you know. Always has. Even when we were kids." Liam's hand shook. He stopped the recording halfway through, grabbed the recorder, and shoved it into his pocket. He tiptoed back out of the room, flushed the bathroom toilet to maintain the illusion, and returned to the front just as Dr. Hale was scribbling something in his notebook. "Feel better?" Hale asked without looking up. "Yeah, thanks." Liam left quickly, trying not to break into a run. That night, in his apartment with all the lights off, Liam sat at the kitchen table playing Dylan's voice over and over again. It was him. No doubt. But how? Dylan had never mentioned seeing a therapist. And the way he spoke, relaxed, casual, made it sound like he'd known Hale well. Why would he hide that? Or had Hale been seeing Dylan without his knowledge? Secretly? Manipulating him? And if so, what exactly had happened that night? Liam stared at the recorder, then at his reflection in the kitchen window. A thought crossed his mind that made his skin crawl. What if Dylan didn't crash by accident? What if someone made sure he never made it home? Someone who knew how to twist minds for a living. Someone who was now twisting his. Liam stared at the recorder on his kitchen table like it was a live grenade. Dylan's voice echoed in the room again, calm and trusting, as if he were talking to a friend. No worse, a confidant. "He said I need to start letting go of the guilt. That Liam doesn't have to carry my mistakes." Liam paused the recording, breath shallow. "My mistakes? What mistakes?" Dylan was the golden child. The one with straight A's, a spotless record, and no enemies. If he had secrets, they were buried deep. And now Liam had the sense that Dr. Hale had been the one digging. He copied the files from the recorder onto a flash drive and slipped it into his pocket. He needed help, but not from Hale. The next morning, he drove across town to Megan's apartment. She looked surprised when she opened the door. Liam hadn't been to see her since Dylan's funeral. "I need to show you something," he said, brushing past her into the living room. He plugged in the flash drive and hit play. She sat beside him, mouth slowly falling open as Dylan's voice filled the room. "That's him," she whispered. "But how did Hale have this?" "I don't know. But Dylan never told me he was seeing a therapist. And now I'm wondering if he did. Or if Hale made him." Megan was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood up and grabbed her laptop. "I'll look into his license records, disciplinary actions, anything that's not public. Maybe I can find something." Liam nodded, jaw tight. "And I'm going back." Dr. Hale didn't seem surprised when Liam showed up unannounced later that afternoon. "I didn't think we had an appointment today," he said evenly, holding the door open. Liam stepped inside, heartbeat like thunder in his ears. "We need to talk." Hale gestured to the usual chair. "Of course." Liam didn't sit. "I found the recordings," he said. Silence. "I found Dylan's sessions. You had his voice. His private conversations. And you never once told me." Dr. Hale folded his hands in his lap, expression unreadable. "Liam, I need you to understand something. Your brother came to me in confidence. It's not ethical to share details of one patient with another, even posthumously." "That's not an answer." "No," Hale admitted quietly. "It's not." There was something in his tone, something that made Liam feel like he'd walked into a trap. Liam leaned forward. "Did you kill him?" Long pause. Then Hale smiled. Not wide, not sinister, but like someone who had heard a riddle and knew the answer long before it was finished. "I think you misunderstand what therapy is," he said. "People come to me to unburden their guilt, their fears, their crimes. I am a mirror, not a judge." Liam's hands clenched. "Did he confess something to you?" "He did," Hale replied softly. "And it haunted him." Liam sat down numb. "He told me about a girl," Hale continued, "that he hurt. Not physically, but emotionally. He pressured her to stay quiet about something. Something that should have been reported." Liam's mind spun. He had no idea what Hale was talking about. Dylan had never mentioned a girl or a situation like that. "He came to me," Hale said, "not because he feared getting caught, but because he feared losing your respect. That's why he was driving that night. He was coming to tell you everything." Liam shook his head. "You're lying. You're twisting it." "I never lie," Hale said. "But I do protect my patients' legacies." "Protect?" "By silencing them." That smile again. "I didn't kill your brother, Liam. But I did know him. Better than you did, I think. He trusted me in a way he never trusted you." Liam stood. "You're sick." Hale didn't flinch. "And yet you keep coming back." Liam turned and stormed out, rage bubbling inside him. But even as the door slammed behind him, something in Hale's words clung like wet tar. "I knew him better than you did." The next day Megan called. "I found something," she said. "And it's big." Liam met her at a cafe, where she slid a manila envelope across the table. Inside were printed pages from a lawsuit, sealed years ago, but leaked briefly before being buried again. "Dr. Marcus Hale isn't his real name," she said. "It's Elias Crow. He legally changed it 10 years ago after being implicated in the suicide of a patient. A teenage girl." Liam's blood ran cold. He was her counselor at a private academy. The girl left behind journals that mentioned him repeatedly. How he manipulated her into believing her parents hated her. How she could only trust him. Then she jumped from the roof of the school. But he wasn't charged. No solid evidence. Her parents settled out of court. He disappeared for 5 years, then re-emerged under a new name, new credentials, and started practicing again. Liam leaned back, breath short. "He's a predator." Megan nodded. "And he's been in your head for weeks." Liam stared at the documents. It all made sense now. The way Hale listened, how he remembered everything, how he made you feel seen. Only to bend that trust to his will. And if he'd done it to Dylan too. What had he told him? That night Liam didn't sleep. Instead, he sat at his desk and opened Dylan's notebook, the one Hale had given him during their first session. He hadn't really read it before. Just scribbled in it when the grief got too loud. But now he flipped through every page. Near the back was a loose paper, tucked between 2 blank pages. In Dylan's handwriting. "Hale says if I tell Liam, it'll destroy him. He says the truth is a weapon, and sometimes it's better to keep the blade sheathed. But I can't live with it anymore. Have to tell him. Even if it ruins everything." Liam felt the breath leave his lungs. There was a secret. And Hale had made sure it died with Dylan. Liam didn't go to Hale's office the next day. Instead he went to the police. Not with accusations but with a plan. Detective Sarah Voss listened quietly as Liam laid it out. His voice tight with urgency. He showed her the envelope, the notebook, the recording. Everything he and Megan had uncovered. She remained calm, professional, but her eyes sharpened the more she heard. "You don't have proof that he killed your brother," she said carefully. But you believe he manipulated him into suicide? Liam hesitated, then nodded. Or something worse. Either way, he's dangerous. He's hiding behind a license. I just need you to listen. To one session. Voss folded her arms. You want to go in wired. I want to bait him, Liam said. Get him talking. And when he does, I need you to hear what I've been hearing. It took some convincing, but she finally agreed. On one condition. A full team would be parked outside the building. If anything went wrong, they'd move in immediately. 2 days later, Liam walked into Hale's office one last time. He looked the same. Suit crisp, eyes calm, the scent of sandalwood still clinging to the air like fog. But today, Hale didn't offer a greeting. He only motioned to the chair. I've been expecting you. Liam sat. There's something I want to know, he said. And I want the truth. Hale tilted his head slightly. The truth is often overrated. Not this time. Liam's voice was steady. What did Dylan tell you that night? Silence stretched. Then Hale leaned back in his chair. You really want to know? Liam nodded. He came in late. Rattled. Shaking. He said he'd done something unforgivable. Something involving a girl named Emily Trask. The name hit Liam like a slap. Emily was in Dylan's college dorm, Hale went on. She was dating someone else. But one night things got out of hand. Dylan didn't assault her, but he didn't stop what was happening. He was in the room. He saw it. He froze. And he never told anyone. Liam's mouth was dry. You're lying. I wish I were, Hale said, tone almost gentle. But he told me. Through tears. He said he'd tried to make it right. He encouraged her to report it. But by then the other guy had vanished. Transferred. And Emily, she dropped out. Vanished too. Liam's heart pounded. So what did you do? I listened, Hale said simply. I told him not all guilt is meant to be cleansed. Some of it you have to carry like a stone in your pocket. Forever. He cried, Liam. He said he was afraid you'd hate him if you knew. Liam's fists were clenched so tight his nails dug into his palms. And then, he whispered. Hale exhaled. He left. Got into his car. Drove to your apartment. He never made it. You're a monster, Liam spat. You fed his guilt. You let it drown him. No, Hale said. I gave him the mirror. What he saw destroyed him. That's not on me. But you wanted him to break. Hale gave a thin smile. Of course I did. Liam's blood ran cold. You see, Hale murmured. The truly broken, they find me. They always do. And I give them what no one else will, the truth. Even if it kills them. Liam's face went still. And then, from behind the wall, came the unmistakable sound of boots moving fast. Then the crash of the front door bursting open. Dr. Hale froze. You're under arrest, shouted a voice. 2 officers stormed in. Hale didn't resist. He simply stood as if expecting applause. I told you, he said to Liam almost proudly. People come to me to unburden themselves. You just unburdened me. As they dragged him out, Liam sat motionless. He'd heard everything. And now so had the cops. The next weeks moved in a blur. Hale was charged with obstruction of justice, impersonation under false credentials, and tampering with a patient's mental health records. Old cases resurfaced. Families of other victims came forward. But the hardest part wasn't watching him go down. It was accepting that Dylan, his Dylan, had carried that guilt alone. Liam reached out to Emily Trask. She responded with a short message, thanking him for telling her the truth. She said she'd always wondered if anyone had ever cared. Now she knew someone did. It didn't erase what happened, but it mattered. 1 month later, Liam sat across from a new therapist. Real one. An older woman with kind eyes and no hidden agendas. I didn't come here for grief, he said, voice low. I came here to stop the rot from spreading. She nodded. Then let's begin. He pulled out the notebook. Dylan's notebook. I want to understand him, he said. The real him. Not the one Hale twisted. The therapist opened a fresh notepad. Then we'll start with what you remember. Liam nodded. Not to forget, but to rebuild. Because now he knew. The past doesn't break you. It only haunts you if you let someone else write your ending.